afternoon. My name is Dr. Teresa McGregor Lovett, and I am the Senior Vice President for Strategic Engagement and Enrollment for Jacksonville University. I am joined today by Mr. Stefano Radio, who is the President of Rome City Institute, and we both have a number of people from our teams joining us today to welcome you for your pre-departure orientation for the joint program for Jacksonville University and Rome City Institute. So joining me from Jacksonville University, we have Dean Christy Gover, who is our Senior Vice President and Dean of Students, Mr. Rob Berwick, our Associate Vice President and Registrar, Mrs. Julia Weisner-Lawless, who is our Director of Undergraduate Admissions, Mr. Charles Moore, our Director of Financial Aid, Miss Misty Pippin, who is one of our lead financial aid counselors, Miss Kaylee Bloom, who's the Director of our Student Enrichment Center, and joining us shortly will be Dr. Annmarie Kent-Willette, who is a faculty member here at JU and is Executive Director of our Global Learning Institutes. So we are so excited that you joined us today, and more importantly, that you are joining us for this really innovative program with Jacksonville University and Rome City Institute. With that, I will pass it off to you, Stefano, to provide a welcome.
Thank you, Teresa, and welcome everybody. This is definitely a very exciting moment for us. Been very tired in the last couple of months, a lot of changes, a lot of exciting aspects. I think what we have done in the past 8 years when we found the Rome City Institute is create something very out of the box, something very unique with two components. The number one is study abroad. Study abroad is something that is going to change you guys' life. I did it myself. I'm from Italy. And I studied in the US, and it's definitely the best experience I had because it changed your perspective. The second is be a student athletes. We are the only institution that have only student athletes in our student body, and be a student athletes in Rome is going to be an unbelievable experience. We've been working every day to make your experience as unique as possible and definitely unforgettable. And we've been very lucky in the past years to be able to do so. And I think the partnership with Jacksonville is just going to create even more opportunities for American students, international students, Italian students. I think we are going to make something that is very historical. Is year one. So a lot of questions among all of us, the students. We're just going to be there to help you guys. When you live in another country that is not your own town, you need a second family, and that's what we want to be for you guys. So we want to be your second family. So whenever you are going to be in Rome, you don't have to hesitate to come and consider us part of your family, because you're going to be away from your family. I mean, saying that, I will look forward to see you guys in a week or so, and I'm just going to pass the word to Christy.
Thank you, Stefano, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Christy Gover. I'm the Dean of Students at Jacksonville University. I also happen to be the parent of an incoming Rome City student, and so I look forward to meeting everyone in Rome next week as well, and going on this journey together. I want to provide just a brief overview of what we can expect today on the pre-departure call. We've invited a number of our team from JU to present presentations that we think will be helpful for you, not only throughout your time in Rome City, but as you have questions that may arise. And so we're going to introduce some resources to both the students and the parents who are on the call. We want to highlight the financial aid process for our students. We know that there are some questions surrounding financial aid, and we have our director there or here with us today that can answer some questions. And prepare the students to be living abroad in Italy. Our faculty member, Dr. Annmarie Kent-Willette, has spent a great deal of time hosting students in Italy and has some wisdom to share about preparing for that departure for both the students and the parents. And then also provide you with the opportunity to ask some questions before you arrive in Rome next week. And I just want to make a note for logistics purposes. We're using the Q&A feature on the Zoom call today rather than the chat feature. That allows our moderators the opportunity to jump in and answer questions right away. So if you have a question, you can either post it in the Q&A area of the Zoom call, or you can save your question, and we'll have an opportunity at the very end for everyone to raise their hand and ask a question verbally, and we'll attempt to answer as many questions as we possibly can before everyone leaves for Italy later this week or early next week. With that, I am going to turn it over to Rob Berwick, who is one of our associate vice presidents at the university and our head registrar. Rob?
Yeah, good morning or afternoon, everyone. Excited to be here, excited to be part of this partnership. And today I'm really going to talk about elements of the academic experience that at least will get you exposed to that. I don't expect you to remember everything today, but at least it will get you exposed to some of the systems that we utilize here at JU. And then we're going to talk a little bit about just some broad topics at the end of my speech here. So if we want to go ahead and get into the first slide, please. Really, we use a bunch of different systems here at JU to help along with your academic experience. And Donna, do you mind going to the next slide, please? Thank you. And before we get into that, I just want to introduce some contact information so you can have that. You can ask us any questions at all at that registrar@ju.edu. Any of the staff can help. They're familiar with the program and the nuances of this program. Also, if you want to reach out to specific individuals, you have my contact information. You'll be hearing from me quite a bit, but also Karen Weaver, one of our associate registrars. So those are two names that you can go with. If your question is just more about I need help with something, you don't care who you talk to, you can certainly reach out to registrar@ju.edu. And those are direct email addresses, but I'm going to go ahead and give you some information about some of the systems and other ways you can ask for help. Okay, so let's talk about Blackboard. Blackboard is the platform that we use for all of the JU hosted courses. And this is where you're going to do a lot of or all of your learning when you're taking the JU courses. So these are the courses that are being taught by JU faculty. And it's a little bit different than the courses where you may be taking those in person at Rome City. And you're getting those courses are going to be on a JU transcript. So there's a little bit of a difference, but essentially you'll have access to Blackboard for all of your courses, and faculty use it in different ways. But to see your courses, which you're not registered yet, and I'll cover that towards the end, but you'll be able to log in through MyJU. Everybody will have access to MyJU, and the buttons that you see at the top there, the one with the red circle around it, Blackboard, you'll see all of those options up there. Allow you to click on those through MyJU and go into the different platforms I'm talking about today. So it's not, you don't have to go to 6 different websites and all of that kind of thing, but you are going to log in using those buttons. And first one is Blackboard, of course. That's where your courses are hosted. Always, when you first get into your courses, review the syllabus, because each faculty member who's hosting that course has different deadlines for stuff. When I teach online courses, for example, all work is due on Sunday nights. Some faculty, it's Fridays, some it's Thursdays. So really pay attention to that, understand the syllabus. And really, when you get in there, don't be afraid to click on buttons. There's nothing you can do in Blackboard that's going to do any harm. So familiarize yourself with Blackboard once you're notified that you are registered in courses. We also offer 24-hour support for Blackboard. So the phone number's there. It's also located within the Blackboard system itself. So if you have access issues or if you have some technical question about Blackboard, there is a phone number and a live chat that is 24 hours a day. So that's really important. Obviously, with the time difference, you don't have to worry about that. You still will be able to get assistance getting into that system as well as navigating any tech issues, that kind of thing. Works best with Chrome as the browser, but certainly works with other browsers as well. If we want to go on to the next slide, please. Okay, so let's talk about Starfish. Starfish is our really our student success platform, allows you to interface with different staff that you're going to hear from today at JU. And the best feature of this that I love is that you don't have to remember who I am or who any of these people are today. You could simply log into Starfish. Right when you log in, you hit that little red raise your hand thing that you can see very small on your screen right now. It's obviously bigger to you. You hit that, and there's two options there, one for FERPA release and one for I need help. And when you submit that I need help, depending on the topic that you're asking for, it goes to the right person. That way we will then reach out to you and let you know or walk you through whatever the issue may be. So this can be anything: having trouble with classes, don't understand the faculty member, having trouble getting up and studying and that kind of thing. Whatever you need, you can click on that and it will get to where it needs to go. The other important piece of this, since we have a parent on this panel for one of our students, is the FERPA release. And that is you as a college student or a post-high school student get access, or you can protect your information, and you're in complete control of that. In order for us to talk to your parents or guardians or whomever, you have to tell us that we're allowed to do that. So when you are able to access Starfish, you're going to want to go in there, hit that raise your hand button. Again, there's a FERPA release as the second option in there. You follow directions. You see on that second graphic that I have there in light blue, all that text explains FERPA release. If you're from Europe, this is the same thing for GDPR, and you can utilize that same release for GDPR. We obviously adhere to policies for both, and while there's some differences, the way we handle the release of information is essentially the same. And so FERPA for US and then GDPR for European. If you are not in Europe or in the US, FERPA does still cover you, us being a US-based institution, as well as GDPR covers some stuff for you while you're in Italy. And so that's Starfish. It's a great tool. You'll see some other information in there, your course schedule, your network of people, all of those things. We're not going to go into every little nuance of it today, but certainly a great tool for you to use. Another one that you want to explore, click buttons and see what it can do for you. Next slide, please. And finally, the third system that we're going to talk about today is self-service. And self-service is the tool that you're going to manage your registration through, as well as look at your degree audit. So those of you who are joining our joint degree program, you will be able to see progress toward your JU degree through this tool. That won't really be relevant to you until we have the first set of grades come in. But basically what that means is the degree audit is a giant checklist of all the requirements to earn the degree in the joint program. And as you complete those courses, those requirements will be checked off for you. And so we will definitely spend a lot of time with that much later on, but that is something that you will have access to, and you'll get to see your progress, which is really nice. That way you can, see that on your own. And anything that you're taking in Rome City that we're transcripting, of course, will be included on that audit. So your entire academic experience will be on there. If you're in the gap year program, you're not working towards one of the joint degrees, that's perfectly fine too. Those classes will be there should you choose to matriculate to JU or stay at Rome City and eventually end up in the joint program. Those courses will get applied there. So that's pretty nice. Again, that's where you're going to also look at your grades. We don't mail out report cards or any progress reports or anything like that. So all of your grades and everything are located in this self-service system. When you click on that, it basically will bring you up a menu with a bunch of tabs where you'll be able to navigate to these different things. So that is self-service. So those are the three major systems that you're going to utilize here: Blackboard, Starfish, and self-service. And again, the easiest way to learn them is to click through them. We're going to include a Blackboard tutorial video in the materials today. We will, I think, post it in the chat, but we will certainly get that information to you so you can watch that video and get help navigating Blackboard. The other two systems, I think you'll pick up pretty quickly. Next slide, please. Okay, a couple of other pieces of information that I want to talk about. First, I don't have it as a bullet point on here, but your course registration, we received that towards the end of last week. We're going to take care of registering you for your courses. That same process is going to happen in the winter and spring terms. You're going to work with some members of Student Enrichment Center, some advisors at Rome City on selecting those courses, but the actual active registration we will take care of for you. Come summer 2025, you will have access to do that on your own. We still want you to meet with our team and your advisors at Rome City to make sure you're selecting the correct courses, but you'll be able to do that on your own through the self-service tool. But for the first couple of terms, we really want to make sure that you get into the courses that you're supposed to be in. We don't have any system issues or anything like that. So we are going to take care of that for you. And so that's important to know. If you're an international student seeking to study in Jacksonville, so if you're in the gap year program or at a point in time in the joint degree program that you want to come to the US, excuse me, you will be obviously have to go through the visa process. And the way that works is the semester prior to you arriving here in Jacksonville, we're going to go through the I-20 process with you. I-20 is the document that you need to study in the US if you are not a US citizen. And we will walk you through that process, talk to you about the eligibility requirements for that. And, you know, our team will certainly assist you in getting that F1 visa so you can study here in Jacksonville, hopefully without any interruption. If you are a student who wants to study in the US as early as this coming spring, then we're going to need to start talking very soon after you start classes, because we have got to get that process underway to make sure that you have plenty of time to try to sit for your visa interview and that kind of thing. If you're a Canadian citizen, you don't have to sit for a visa interview, of course. You just simply can get the I-20 or allowed to study in the United States with that I-20 and a valid Canadian passport. And then finally, any drops, withdrawals, anything like that, at least in this first semester, you're going to have to request those. You won't be able to do that through self-service. We have a modified academic calendar that we will share with you at some point in time. That's really important from a student perspective. Those are what we call add drop dates, and then finally the withdrawal date. And those dates are really important because once they pass, we cannot go backwards. And so there's an opportunity to drop or withdraw from a class if you choose to do so. Hopefully we won't have to deal with that because we're curating your schedules. But should you run into that scenario, we want to make sure that you're aware of those. And then in the spring, you'll follow the same JU calendar. So we will make sure you get those modified drop withdrawal dates. You'll also receive reminders about that via email. So keep an eye out on that. Don't ignore our emails. We'll try not to spam you, but definitely make sure you're paying attention, because if you're getting an email, particularly from the registrar's office, that means it's very important. We try not to send you anything, but those are going to be very important dates for you to remember and some important information. Same goes if you receive anything from your advisor, Student Enrichment Center. Make sure you're really paying attention to those emails, because those are going to be very, very important pieces of information, usually deadline driven. So other than that, that's all I had for this morning, and I'm going to hand it over to, I think it's Kaylee Bloom in the Student Enrichment Center.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kaylee Bloom. I am the director of the Student Enrichment Center at Jacksonville University. Among all of the other resources that you'll hear about today, we are another piece of that success network for Rome City students. We are a physical space on campus, but for most Rome City students, we'll also help you in the virtual and digital world. We're designed to be a space where students can find connection, support, resources that allow them to thrive as a member of our community. And we consider a thriving student to be a student who's experiencing academic growth and personal resiliency as they persist in college. And what that means is we help support the holistic view of students. We recognize that you have a lot of competing priorities when you are studying for a degree, and for a lot of Rome City students, that's also an athletic perspective. You have a lot of things to balance from that end, and we're here to help you support and navigate all of those things that you have to consider on a day-to-day basis to make sure that you are following the dimensions of wellness and making sure that you're achieving your goals that you when you started deciding to study a degree. Donna, can you go to the next slide? So a key part of our Student Enrichment Center team is your Thrive Coach, and each Rome City Institute student will have a Thrive Coach. Consider them your personal guide to JU. We are your connection to campus from abroad. We help you navigate winter and summer online course registration, which, as Rob mentioned, you'll get lots of information about that very soon, mostly sent via email. And then we're here to help you offer any support navigating JU resources. So anything that Rob had talked about, you're like, oh, I'm not sure, you got in the weeds a little bit. We are happy to sit down with you and walk through those things that Rob had said, but also all the other resources that you now have access to through this partnership with Jacksonville University. And so on the next slide, I could advance. Yeah, there we go. So Thrive Coaches, we will start reaching out to Rome City Institute students as winter and summer online course registration begins at JU to get a better picture of what your goals are academically and understand if any of our online or in-person classes might best fit your interests. And so each of you, as I mentioned, are assigned a Thrive Coach, and you can see here who your Thrive Coach is. So any student with last names A through M, your Thrive Coach is Kira Keeler, and any last name through N through Z, your Thrive Coach is Gerard Crutchfield. I am also happy to be a resource to all Rome City Institute students, but these are your two go-to people, as I mentioned, your connection to campus from abroad. So we really look forward to working with you and excited about this partnership. I think it will be a great benefit to both communities to be able to join together and make this happen. So I will pass the baton now, I think, to financial aid, if that sounds correct. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, depending upon where you are. My name is Charles Moore. I'm the Executive Director of the Student Financial Services area. We are going to go over some very basic information as it relates to how to access financial aid and the process to make it as seamless as possible for you to receive the funding that you have secured. Our Assistant Director, Misty Pippin, will take you through the majority of the slides today. But we will definitely highlight that each individual has direct access to a financial aid professional on our campus. So that information will be shared with you later in the slideshow. Please take note of who these folks are. They are definitely going to be able to help you through process. The highlight information that we would want to cover is that for federal financial aid, so those folks that are looking to file a FAFSA, you do need to be in a degree-seeking program to access federal and state financial aid through that FAFSA process. So just be aware of that. Every student that participates with Rome City would have access to what we call private education loans. So the majority of that information that's been shared has been through Sally Mae. There are a number of private education loan products out there that we would be able to certify based on your eligibility. So welcome, very excited to have you. This is a very exciting process for us. There will be some hiccups. I will apologize in advance simply because this is a transition year with the Department of Education as it relates to FAFSA, but we will do everything we can do to make that process as seamless as possible. So Misty, if you want to pick up the slides, I will kick it over to you.
All right, thank you, Chip. Like he said, my name is Misty Pippin. I'm the Assistant Director of Student Financial Services. On the last slide, that was the breakdown of our undergraduate counselors. We do break down the counselors based on last name. So if you had any questions that you specifically want to ask about your account, you could reach out if you want to take a picture of this, or you could always reach out to me and I could get you over to the correct person. You could email us. Sherry, Bianca, Hannah, and Misty were the 4 undergraduate counselors. And then if you're in the graduate program, you could reach out to Melissa or Sherry, and they're both able to answer any questions that you have about your financial aid for the graduate program. Charles Moore is our executive director. And then if anyone had any questions about Florida Prepaid or any other sponsorship or 529, in our office, we have Chris Barber, and she would be able to help you with those questions. Then on the next slide, we're just going to talk about a couple things that are really important. Every year, you'll need to complete a FAFSA. So right now, you're completing the FAFSA for the 24-25 academic year. We're receiving those FAFSAs in. Again, this is only if you're an undergraduate degree-seeking student, are you eligible to complete the FAFSA? Once we receive that information in, we will update your award letter, and then we'll email you with information on what the next steps are, what you need to do to complete your financial aid checklist, and what things are needed next. State residents may be eligible for a resident grant and or Bright Futures. If you are a Florida resident and you don't see that on your account and you are a degree seeking student, you can reach out to me or your counselor and we'll definitely look into that and give you the information on that. We accept all 529s. Florida prepaid is one of the most popular ones, but we'll accept any 529, any sponsorship. If you have any questions on that, you can reach out to me and I could get you over to Chris. Parents can apply for the Parent Plus loan. They do that on the same website that you complete your FAFSA. That's studentaid.gov. That is eligible for degree seeking students also. If you are looking for another option, you're not degree seeking or you're not wanting to take out a Parent Plus loan, you could look up a private loan. If you want to visit elmselect.com, if you type in Jacksonville University on that website, it will bring up the top places that our current JU students are borrowing from. You do not have to use one of those places, but it does take some of the legwork out of looking for a place to borrow from, and it is a very good resource. Then on our next slide. So like Rob was talking about earlier, once you log in and you get to the portal, so once you log into my.ju.edu and you log into the if you want to click on the self-service link, that's going to bring you over to the page where you're able to see your financial aid. I think it's on the next slide. You'll be able to see that if you're trying to view your financial aid checklist and you're wanting to see if you're missing anything, if you've completed your FAFSA, if there's anything that you need to do right here, you could click on where it says financial aid. And then that's going to bring up all of your information and let you know if you need to do any other steps or if everything is completed, everything will be in green and it will show you that financial aid that you're eligible to receive. And on the next slide, one thing we wanted to talk about. So if you have financial aid that's going to be dispersed to you, we will start dispersing aid after the drop add period. So we will start dispersing that out. If you sign up for direct deposit, that's going to expedite how quickly you receive your funds. So we recommend that all students sign up for direct deposit. So once you log into the my.ju.edu, if you scroll down, it's on the right-hand side underneath financial information. At the very bottom of that, it says bank information not for payroll. You would put in your information there and you only have to do that once. Unless you're making a change, that will stay in there and you will receive your refund through direct deposit. It definitely makes the receiving of your funds quicker. But the only thing that I did want to note on that is if your parent applied for a Parent Plus loan and they requested the funds be mailed directly to them, then we would have to mail the funds to them in a check. If your parents decide that they would like for it to go in direct deposit, they can just reach out to me and we can make those updates. It is quicker and it is something that we recommend, but you just would have to reach out to us if your parents selected the option that they wanted the funds sent directly to them. On the next slide. Again, the FAFSA does need to be completed every year. So the FAFSA that you're completing right now is for fall 24, spring 25. And then the new FAFSA should open, based on everything that we're hearing from the Department of Ed, it's supposed to open in December. We always recommend completing that as soon as it opens. It is for the full year. So again, when you complete this FAFSA, you don't have to complete it to receive your aid for spring. You won't have to complete the new FAFSA, but the FAFSA that you're completing, that you complete for next year will then be for the next fall, spring. You'll just want to make sure that you make a note every year to complete the FAFSA if you're planning on borrowing the federal aid. And then also if you are receiving state aid, you would need to complete a FAFSA. And also if your parent borrows the Parent Plus loan, you're going to want to make sure that they complete that every year. However, that doesn't open until in the summer, right before the semester starts. So May, June, July, you can start applying for Plus loans. I'm not sure what else is on this slide. If you could load this slide. You're going to want to make sure that you renew annually. Again, you're completing the 24-25. You will need your prior year taxes, but the good thing about the new FAFSA simplification is you do not have to have those in your hand any longer. Whenever you fill out the FAFSA, it'll pull that information directly from the IRS. So your information will pull from there, and then it'll have you fill in your parents' information. It'll send a link to your parents, and then your parents will fill in their information and it'll pull their information in directly from the IRS also. So it makes it a lot quicker and a lot easier, and you don't have to have paper copies of your taxes no longer in hand to complete your FAFSA. Again, we always recommend completing the FAFSA as soon as possible, just so there are no delays when it's time to award your eligible aid and completing your checklist that comes after we receive your FAFSA. Next slide. We can pause here for a moment if there are any questions that we need to answer. Anyone has any questions that they would like to ask at this time? Okay, I'll turn it over to Dr. Annmarie Kent-Willette.
Thank you. I am Dr. Annmarie Kent-Willette. I am the Executive Director of Global Teaching and Learning here at Jacksonville University and a professor of communication. So I'm going to walk you through some best practices, some things for you to do before you leave the U.S., and some things that can help you, especially during those first couple of weeks while you're making the adjustment to your new and exciting campus life in Italy. Okay, if you haven't already, it's a good idea to go ahead and check your passports. You want to make sure that the passport expiration date is valid for at least 6 months prior to your return. So that's something that you need to check. Just make sure, and I know many of you have new passports for this program, but you technically are supposed to have at least 6 months available from the end date. So just go ahead and check that. Every once in a while, if you got your passport before you were 18 years old, they do expire faster than adult passports. So just double check that date before you go. You want to make sure that any vaccinations that have been required for your living in community with Rome City are up to date and that you have records of those. You might not need those, but if you are asked to show those, you want to make sure that you know where the records are for that. So again, good information for you to make sure that you have before you depart. Okay, medications. This is very important because some of the substances that our students use to help them with ADD or ADHD are actually illegal, not sold or filled in Italy. What that means is that if you have a prescription for Adderall or Ritalin or something like that, it must be in its actual container with your name on it. It must be in the prescription bottle with the label on it. You also want to make sure that you actually have a digital copy of the prescription. You are not allowed to share those. Again, this is a substance that Italy does not prescribe to its residents. You will not be able to get this refilled in Italy. So again, it's going to need to be something that you have in the actual prescription bottle, and you would want to talk to your medical provider about the length of your stay in Italy. So this is something that is different to sort of how, the policy is in the US. Any prescription that you have in the US, I need to make sure that everyone understands you're not going to be able to walk in and get that filled at an Italian pharmacy. So the prescriptions that we just talked about, but anything you're going to need to make sure that you have enough for the length of your stay and that it's in the original packaging with your name and the doctor's name and that prescription, and that you have the prescription in a PDF format somewhere on your phone that you could access if there was ever any question. Financial planning. I think it's really important for students and their family members to talk about budgeting. What does that look like? There is a conversion rate that once you are in another country, it is very easy to lose sight of that, right? It's not $1 to €1. It might actually be it might actually cost you $1.07 for €1. So it's important for you to have conversations with your family members about what your weekly budget looks like. You're going to be surprised at how much cash is used still in Italy. It's not uncommon to walk in and maybe you're going to make a purchase for $2 or $3, and they will tell you, no, we're not going to take a credit card or a debit card for that. So for small purchases, like under 5, under 10, most of the places are going to want you to pay in cash. You can get euros in advance from your bank. That's probably the best rate that you will get. And then you can also use your debit card at ATMs once you are in Italy. There will be usually additional fees associated with that, but you are going to need some cash, certainly for those smaller purchases, and should anticipate being asked to pay in cash. It is important that you inform your banks and your credit cards that you are traveling abroad and the length of stay that you will be there. I do want to encourage the family members at home to monitor the bank accounts. Maybe you have some alerts on your phones. You just want to make sure that if there is any unauthorized activity, that you're notified of that right away. But it is best practice to make sure that you're monitoring the credit and debit cards. I do one other thing, this is just super practical. I really encourage students not to take their debit or credit cards out for the evening with them. If you are going to go, maybe you take 20 euros or 40 euros, because if you were to lose your debit or credit card while you are abroad, it is a bit of a hassle. So, if you were to lose 20 or 40 euros, then you're only out that amount of money. But really think carefully about where you're taking that debit card, credit card. Okay. The U.S. State Department has a program called the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. It goes by STEP, S-T-E-P. You can do a quick search online. I highly recommend that both you and your family members, someone in your family, subscribe to that. The State Department does a great job of providing alerts. It could be as simple, and it's not simple when you're in it, as a train strike is going to happen Thursday through Saturday, but you'll be notified on your phone so that you have some advance warning. So this is a really good mobile program. There's, of course, no cost, but it's an excellent thing to do. I also want to take a minute and talk to you about some local laws and customs that are different. And again, just increasing your awareness so that you can be comfortable and safe and have the best experience possible. I want to remind everyone that you are a guest in the country of Italy. You have no right to be there, but you have been afforded the privilege to come in and study as a guest. So keep that in mind, just as you would behave when you're you're a guest in someone's house, you are a guest in the country of Italy. There are some customs that are different, and probably one of the first things that you'll notice is the dress is better than what we sort of walk around every day as Americans. You're going to see sort of a pride in appearance. The easiest way for me to describe this to you is it is important to you so that you don't unintentionally offend someone. Whereas you might think, well, I'm feeling very casual today. I'm just going to put this on. And then you go to a place of business or a restaurant and they see you and in their mind, you are showing them disrespect by not dressing in a more respectable way. So what does that look like? I know all of you will be training during the mornings. Basically what this means is that you wear your athletic wear while you are doing the training, but you do not live your day-to-day life in the city of Rome in athletic wear. Athleisure is not really a thing. And the way you are treated by the Italians will also be reflected in what they are perceiving as the respect that you're giving them by your attire. If anybody on the call is a runner, you cannot run without your shirt on. That's actually against the law. So if you're running, you have to keep your shirt on as well. Residential quiet hours are more than a suggestion. It is an actual law. And there are 2 times of day where the residential areas are required to be quiet. That's during the pauso, which is equivalent to like a siesta. That's going to be midday from 2 to 4. And then quiet hours again, starting at 11 o'clock in the evening to 7 a.m. So it's more than just your neighbors are going to be mad. They can report you, you can be fined, you can also get a visit that you don't want. So the quiet hours, and I know they'll go over this with you once you're in Italy, but just so you know, it's not just a suggestion, it is a law. So that's something that you will need to respect. The pauso, in addition to the quiet hours, many shops, especially smaller shops and businesses, will be closed from maybe 2 to 4 and then reopen. And they do tend to stay open a little bit later than the stores in the US, but they do have that midday pause as well. In the category of suggestions that you can do before you leave, you should go ahead and program into your phone the emergency contacts for the local numbers, your program contacts with Rome City. And you should also talk about what your communication plan is. So for example, if you were to lock yourself out of your apartment, I would encourage you not to call your family members in the US first, but have the contacts identified as to whom you need to contact to actually solve that problem. So, but having that pre-programmed into your phone can be a great source of relief in like a stressful situation. Rome is an amazing, fabulous, exciting, historic city. It is also a very big city. So there are just some safety measures that you can put into place to sort of help keep you safe. I talk to my students about walking with purpose. You don't want to draw attention to the fact that maybe I'm not sure where I'm going. So if that means I walk down the street once and back again, that's fine, but just sort of walk with purpose. They'll talk to you on campus about avoiding sort of high risk areas, some things that you would want to do, some of the recommendations as to where you keep your wallets. You know, don't put things in back pockets that are easy. Secure your valuables and absolutely pay attention to your phone. This is probably something that happens on almost every program. So you can't be like so deep into your phone that you are not paying attention as to what is going on around you. Definitely back up your phone. And you know, when you are in high traffic areas, if you're taking the metro, I do not recommend that you have your phone out. You know, keep it secure until you're in a place that isn't so busy. Okay. Can I go to the next one? I do recommend that you, and certainly as family members, you can have this discussion before, but keeping the Find My Phone on and location sharing can be just a great source of comfort. And that's something that you could do beforehand. I also recommend that you have in your phone maybe a colleague of a family member or a neighbor, should you not be able to reach someone in your immediate circle, that maybe someone else that you could reach out to. We talked about the U.S. Department of State and the STEP program and how I definitely recommend you enroll in that. I do want to address the family members, parents that might be on the call. It is very important that you have a valid passport so that if anything were to happen and you needed to get over to your student, you are in fact going to need your passport to be able to book an airline ticket. And now is the time to make sure that at least someone in your inner circle has the passport ready to go. I do recommend that you actually scan your student's passport and keep a paper copy, as well as maybe email a copy to yourself, so that if anything were to happen, it's much easier to replace the passport when you have all the numbers and the barcode. So I like to have a paper copy. I would actually send one of the paper copies with the student and keep one for yourself, and then also have a PDF of that. So if you needed that information, it would be accessible. I do also recommend that for credit cards and debit card so that you have the information on the front of the card as well as the back of the card, should you need to do any type of online banking or need those numbers sometimes on the front and the back. The same for health insurance and any emergency contact cards. I do want to ask that you, again, pay attention to your bank accounts. Students, if you are using the ATMs, you do want to take a minute and sort of cover your hand with the pin pad when you put the pin pad in. Apparently, this is not something that we really see in the US, but the scam, if you would, is that the card would never leave your hands, but that someone was capturing a digital image of the actual number on your card and then you keying in the PIN. So just extra caution. I also encourage you to always go in twos if you're going to go to an ATM. You should definitely go to one that's affiliated with a bank so that, okay. So that you have sort of a buddy with you. I want to encourage you, to use your Italian. I know that you'll be in Italian language classes. Don't worry about it being perfect. The Italians will be very friendly about you trying to speak Italian. Don't be surprised though if they do correct you. And it will be, you might be corrected by a variety of different people, but they are going to encourage you to speak the Italian. And you'll feel good being able to say a few things in Italian. Before you go, I want to make sure that you can master a few simple basic life skills just to keep sort of your day-to-day going and effective without having big stress from sort of little things. Make sure that you know how to do your own laundry. What do you do with darks? What do you do with whites? What should you be using? This is going to be something that you're going to be responsible for. You also want to be able to make a few meals in your apartment and be considerate that you are living with someone else to keep the rooms tidy, keep it clean. Again, you're going to notice very quickly sort of the pride in appearance is part of the culture. The cell phone plans, you can set up your international plan with your provider before you go. I recommend also that you download WhatsApp. A lot of the communication that will happen in this program or in Italy with friends that you make will be via WhatsApp. Whereas, so many Americans use Apple products. That's not necessarily the case in Europe. So WhatsApp is going to be the way that you'll be able to communicate by text. Yes, some places take Apple Pay, but not all places. The same with American Express. Some will take American Express, but not all. So I would not count exclusively on Apple Pay as the only method of payment. So what you're going to find are like the bigger places are going to take it, but not everywhere. Let me see. Sorry, I didn't have. Are there other questions? Okay, Q&A, sorry. The quiet hours happen twice during the day. They happen sort of during the pauso from 2 to 4, and then they happen again in the evening from 11 in the evening till 7 in the morning. Are you able to set up a bank account in Italy? I have not had students do that before. I'm going to let the Italian colleagues answer that. I haven't had anybody do that before. Okay, we'll get you an answer to that question. It's probably going to be more of a challenge based on the visa, is my thought. Okay, I'm ready for the next slide. Okay, so this next series of information really is designed for the parents. Again, you know, I know as a parent, our inclination is that we want to fix things and make things smooth, but I would encourage you to allow your student to problem solve first. Give them the opportunity to work through this problem. You know, they're traveling halfway across the world. So you calling in when they've locked themselves out isn't really the best solution or the best, they're little life lessons. They're going to be surrounded by a support network of professionals that will be working with them to help them achieve their goals. So let your student have the opportunity to work through the problem first before maybe you feel the need to jump in. This piece is very important. This is where I've seen some situations that have not been great. If your student is planning to travel independently or participate in activities outside of the official program, you as the family member really need to know. You need to know where your student is going, what they're going to be doing, and ask that they keep in touch with you. Sometimes these are the situations that I would describe as much riskier, where students engage in behavior that is less than ideal. So if they're going to be doing independent travel, make sure that you are aware and that it has been something that you've discussed, certainly involving their personal safety and choices that they might make. They always want to have their insurance cards with them and clear that the emergency procedures are in place. The challenge is, you know, just like here at Jacksonville University, if a student were to decide I'm going to go to a football game in Tennessee and something happens in Tennessee, well, we're in Florida. And so it's just really important that all of that is communicated with the support system and the family member. You all have to be on the same page because that's really, really important. Okay, another thing that is important, allergies. So I recommend that you put this into your phone, use Google Translate and translate it into Italian, but also have an index card, right? So that if for some reason your phone isn't working, your battery is dead, what have you, you can still communicate that you have, you know, it's a nut allergy or what have you. Also, pretty early on, let your peers know that if you have any medical or allergies, that so that other people in the group are also aware of what it is that you might need. Again, if you're traveling with an EpiPen, please make sure that it's in the packaging, that it's labeled, that it's got the prescription associated with that as well. All of those prescriptions that are in the original containers need to be with you in your carry-on as well. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the fact that you should expect for certainly smaller shops to close during midday and then reopen and often stay open later in the evening. You'll notice right away that dinners are later in the evening. Some restaurants might not even be open at 6 o'clock. You're definitely not going to have dinner at 6. You'll get used to it, you know, but 8 o'clock is pretty normal, and sometimes even later for that. We talked a little bit about that the Italians dress better than the Americans. You'll want to be, you'll see sort of pride in appearance. It's another way of showing respect. And so I tell you this, not, you know, I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad or make any judgment, but remember, you're a guest in their country, so it is respectful to follow the norms. Do not expect Uber. You're not really going to find Uber. You are going to find the taxis are well organized and the rates are published. So the taxis, as well as the metro, the city is very walkable. Again, I wouldn't, you know, recommend walking around by yourself, but certainly you can walk in small groups, very walkable. I think sometimes people are surprised at how international of a city Rome is. Of course, you're interested and excited, you're going to go there, but it's not just Americans that want to go to Rome. Rome is an international destination. So very quickly, of course, you'll meet Italians, but you'll also meet people from all over the world that, just like you, wanted to go and live in Rome. Just some simple cultural etiquette. So you can say buongiorno in the morning, buonasera in the evening. It's really not appropriate for you as a student to be saying ciao to people that you don't know. And again, in sort of that category where you don't want to unintentionally insult someone. So really ciao would just be something that you would keep to people your same age, your peers, or, you know, as you would get to know people really well, especially to people that are older than you. It's just not appropriate for you to say ciao. To the women, young women on the call, it's definitely not appropriate for you to greet someone first with a ciao. You could be inviting unintended attention that might not be what you meant. So buongiorno, buonasera, you'll get the hang of it soon, but just originally, you know, don't be saying ciao to everyone as you're walking down the street. Patience. I want to tell you to pack your patience. It is a slower pace of life. It is very rich and rewarding, but it is not as convenient as, you know, Uber Eats and Uber this. So I want for you to expect it to be different, expect it to be a little slower pace of life, but certainly rich and wonderful and exciting. It's just not going to be as convenient. Okay. Okay, students, it is very important that you remember that you are the one having all of these exciting, amazing, life-changing opportunities. And there are people at home that are missing you, are wondering how you are doing. So it is really, really important that you honor those sort of check-ins. As a professor, I don't want you on the phone every minute of the day. I want you living the experiences. But I also want you to remember that there are people that are concerned. This is a big deal to go to Rome for a semester. So if you said that you're going to check in Sunday at 6 p.m., please honor that commitment. I also know that parents love to see photos of you, even if you don't want to engage in a long text message, you know, a simple photo to keep in touch. Because while you have all of these new and exciting adventures, your family is the one that's walking by your empty bedroom every day, that's doing the same routine with you missing. So please be thoughtful of them and also recognize that what a big adventure this is and how much support went into making this happen for you. So I know you're going to be excited and there's so much to do, but please remember to show gratitude back to the people at home that helped this happen for you. There might even be, you know, maybe a coach that you would want to let know along the way how great this is going. So keep that in mind. Handling homesickness, just like any sort of new, it's going to be exciting and then it might feel a little bit difficult after like some of the euphoria wears off. Really tell yourself you need 14 days before you can make an assessment that this is not okay. So just commit to getting through the 14 days and sort of learning this sort of new routine. It's going to be really important that you get some sleep because sleep deprivation and jet lag can really cloud your judgment. So it's not uncommon that you're going to get your second wind late in the evening because for those of you on the East Coast, it's 6 hours different. So, but you really need to work very hard to get yourself on that time schedule so that you can get back into a pattern of good sleep because you're going to have very full days ahead of you. And staying hydrated on the plane, trying to get some sleep on that overnight flight and not letting yourself go back to sleep for anything more than 2 hours on the day that you arrive is really important to try and get you back on the time change. As far as families and you want to encourage the independence of your student without let them sort of try to work through the problem solving. You want to encourage some autonomy. And of course, you want to support, but again, you need to show them that you have the confidence in them that they can solve some of these small problems. These are life lessons. We're not talking about things that are endangering the safety, but if someone loses a key or has to work through a roommate issue, let your student try to navigate that. These are life issues, or these are little life lessons along the way, and certainly part of what's supposed to happen with a college experience. It is not uncommon that when your student comes back, while you may feel so excited and so happy to have them home, that they may feel a little sad. They've gone from this very exciting, sort of one of the best cities in the world. They've had a certain amount of autonomy and independence, and now their life is shifting very differently. So just know that it may not be as grand of a homecoming as maybe we're imagining in the beginning, but they certainly will work through both the departure and the arrival, and the departure and arrival again. So I think that's my last slide. Let me see what we have in the Q&A.
Thank you, Dr. Kent-Willette. We appreciate you sharing some insight, having studied and lived abroad yourself and led multiple study abroad trips for our JU students. I'm going to ask Dr. McGregor if she will come on and offer some additional information and wrap up with the Q&A. If you have a question, please post it in the Q&A and we will work to answer those prior to the end of the call. Dr. McGregor?
Thank you, Dr. Gover, and thank you for all of our panelists for reviewing your areas. I know for a lot of you, this is a lot of information as your students are transitioning. Most of you probably to college for the first time. And so we wanted to offer you this so that you could get to know Jacksonville University a little bit better and get some of the same information that our parents of students who are going to come here to Jacksonville, Florida would receive. I saw a couple of questions about the U.S. bachelor's degree in the chat. So I wanted to share a little bit with you about that. So in general, Jacksonville University is a comprehensive liberal arts institution, meaning we offer about 4,000 students here in Jacksonville, degrees from undergraduate, traditional undergraduate degrees. We have transfer students. We have some professional studies degrees, so that may be somebody getting a second bachelor's degree, as well as numerous graduate programs. So that's sort of who we are and what we represent. We saw some questions about the number of years. So a U.S. bachelor's degree is 120 credit hours. And so we don't necessarily associate that with a specific timeline. Many U.S. students are earning college credits in high school, and they will transfer those into Jacksonville University. And we can certainly answer questions about that. Rob would be happy to if you have specific questions, it might be better to do via email, just in terms of what courses are transferring. But students, in order to earn a bachelor's degree, would need 120 credit hours altogether. For many students, that takes 4 years to earn those credit hours, going fall and spring, and sometimes some summers worked in there. But that varies. At JU, we actually have 4 semesters in a given academic year. So we have the traditional fall and spring semesters, But we also have a winter semester that I believe Rob referred to, as well as summer semesters. So students who want to maybe finish faster have the opportunity to take online courses during the winter. There are summer classes available as well. In terms of the traditional fall and spring courses, Rome City is going to work very closely with you on your individual needs to get you the classes that you need based on if you're bringing in classes, if you're not, and what those core curriculum classes look like. So those are the classes that sort of all universities have and are part of the degree requirement, sort of those English, math classes. And if you want to know what our core curriculum is, our registrar can certainly share that information with you. But that's sort of how we work on our side for Jacksonville. We are the school of record for Rome City, which means that any student coming into Rome City and taking these courses, they will get their transcript and their course credits from a U.S. institution, from Jacksonville University. So if you have other questions, you can certainly reach out to myself, to Dean Gover, to Rob directly. We would be happy to answer those, as well as our Rome City counterparts, again, who will be working with you individually to make sure that everybody's course needs are met. Stefano, would you like to add anything to that?
Sure. First of all, I would like to thank you guys for organizing this and for the time you spend. This is extra resources, and I think, you know, two universities coming together are going to be extra resources, and so more than less. You know, like we are is our year one, so definitely a lot of questions to be answered, but I want to make sure everybody understand that we're going to work with every students to accommodate all the needs. So definitely the 3 years undergraduate is a common question, and for all the students that are that wants to go to that road, we're going to accommodate that. We are going to definitely do another orientation when the students are here. That's the reason why this was mostly JU with all the resources, and we're very thankful with that. We're going to do academic orientation here, athletic orientation, student life orientation, housing orientation. So it's going to be a full week full of orientation, and have the students get to know the city, and we're going to organize team building. So just want to make sure everybody is calm. It's stressful to travel from one side to another of the world. So we're going to make sure everybody have their question answer, and yeah, we're very excited. Again, thank you, JU, for being a great partner, and thank you to all the students and the parents to believe in what we're doing.
Thank you, Stefano. I appreciate you and your team joining the call today as well. There are a few questions in the Q&A area about the arrival in Rome and what students should expect as far as checking into their housing and what's provided in the housing. Would someone on the Rome City team like to speak to what students should expect when they arrive in Rome?
Yeah, I think most of the students receive already emails about that, but we definitely this week are going to reach out back to all the students. You know, sometimes people don't read emails. So I'm just going to end with a joke. The orientation and the arrival is the 26th, and a week ago a student showed up in the campus on August 15, that is the biggest holiday in Italy, and reach out to us and say there is nobody here, like what's going on. So we understand, you know, there's a lot of changes, you know, sometimes we are not reading. So Richard De Muro has been sending a lot of emails to students as the athletic director, Mauro Girini. So we're going to make sure that the students receive all the material again, and so everybody's in the same page.
Thank you. So students, check your emails, and parents, make sure your students check their emails so you can see what's been communicated from Rome City about the arrival and what they can expect in their housing, and to kick off orientation, where to report. There are a couple of other questions in the chat that I think maybe the JU people can answer. Rob Berwick, would you like to speak to the dual enrollment classes transferring to JU?
Yeah, I see a few questions about that. So basic thing with dual enrollment courses, we need the college that awarded the credit. We need that transcript. We cannot take it from your student's high school transcript. We have received several of those already, and we have already evaluated those transcripts. So once your students are able to log into self-service, for example, those credits will be there waiting for them. If they just finish those, make sure that we get access to their college transcript and that is sent through. Again, if you sent the high school, all we can do there is help with scheduling of classes, but we cannot post credit for that. And somebody asked the question about gap year. Will those, I think it was something along the lines of, will those courses count towards the dual or the joint degree program? And yes, absolutely. Those are JU courses. Depending on the major and those kinds of things, they may apply in different ways, but once students have earned those credits, they are earned here at JU, and we will apply those to a bachelor's degree.
Thank you, Rob. I believe we have addressed the questions in the chat at this point, or in the Q&A at this point, between Rome City and emails they're going to receive later this week from Rome City and JU. If you have other specific questions, feel free to email your contact at Rome City or at Jacksonville University. We're happy to answer any questions that you may have. And otherwise, we look forward to seeing you next week in Rome and staying in touch. Thank you so much for joining our call today.
Thank you.